Good evening, everyone. I am Ankit and you're watching the Indian Express analysis, which goes live every day at 4 p.m. on Study IQ IAS English channel. Today is 28th of May and we are going to discuss important news and articles from our Indian Express newspaper. We'll start off our today's discussion by understanding what is actually the collegium system for appointments to higher judiciary, that is Supreme Court and High Court. Because this collegium system actually transferred many of the High Court judges to each other. Similarly, it also appointed many new justices to the Supreme Court, 3 of which are chief justices or judges of different high courts in our country. So this brings my attention towards the system of appointment to higher judiciary, which has been termed as collegium system. So we are going to understand how this system originated, how it has evolved in the last few years. That is our subject of our today's discussion, and this directly relates to GS paper 2 syllabus because it deals with appointment and functioning of judiciary, right? Also, collegium system was in news in February when the then justice in the High Court of Delhi, in his house the cash was found, and as a result it was collegium system only which transferred that judge from Delhi to Allahabad High Court, right? So that is why we are going to understand every detail about collegium system. In the second article, we'll be understanding about a weather phenomena that has appeared in the explain section of the Indian Express newspaper. This is called as Madden-Julian oscillation. How does Madden-Julian oscillation function and how does it affect India's monsoon? That will be our subject of our today's discussion. Now, few days back, we did in detail why the monsoon has come early to India. In that, I covered one of the aspect was Madden-Julian oscillation. So, I am going to cover this particular weather phenomena in detail today, right? And this is relevant from GS paper 1 perspective, that is physiological as well as meteorological geography, okay? In the third article, we'll be dealing why are COVID cases recently rising. We'll understand the factors behind it and we'll also understand whether it is a cause of worry for us humans or not, right? So this particular article is mostly relevant from science and tech perspective because any disease that is in news, the biological part of it, biotechnological part of it automatically becomes relevant from our exams perspective, right? So the third article will be covering the reasons why COVID cases are rising after a long period of time, okay? In the fourth article, we'll be understanding about the National Commission for Protection of Children's Rights, NCPCR, right? So what kind of a body is NCPCR? What kind of work does NCPCR do? We'll understand in our today's discussion. This body is a statutory body, therefore relevant paper is GS paper 2 because if you look at the syllabus of GS paper 2, their constitutional body, statutory body, non-statutory body, judicial bodies, all of them are covered. So NCPCR is relevant automatically from GS paper 2 syllabus. In the fifth article, we'll be understanding about a sea located in the western part of Europe, that is Baltic Sea. Baltic Sea is in news because of aggression that has happened in that region between Russia on one hand and countries belonging to the NATO on other hand, right? And NATO, you understand, was a subject of a question this year in prelims. So automatically any development related to it or geographical features of this particular water body becomes important from our exams perspective, right? And in the end, if the time allows, I'll be covering OPEC and OPEC plus grouping. Because of this grouping, the prices of crude oil, it is expected to come down. So what are the factors that drive the prices of crude oil up and down? What are the bodies, that is OPEC and OPEC plus, how they regulate the prices and production of crude oil? All of this we are going to understand in our today's discussion. This mostly is relevant from GS paper 3 perspective because it deals probably with the most important commodity that exists in modern era, that is crude oil, okay? So these are the 6 articles that we are going to cover today. Rishi Pandey, Navjyoti, Augustine, Mini, Gaurav, Jai Shri Ram, Shushmita, Mamta, Gaurav, Reshma, good evening. Sir, I have sent you my answer. Please evaluate and guide me. Okay, I will do that. But from today onwards, whenever I give you a question to write in that day itself, so please make sure to submit them by 8 p.m. in the evening. So then only I will evaluate them. I will evaluate your answer today, Gaurav, but from next time, everyone, please pay close attention. I will only evaluate answers, those are submitted up till 8 p.m. that very day, right? So suppose if I give you a question today, you have to submit it at 8 p.m. today. After that, if you submit it, others can evaluate, I won't. So I want this habit to get inculcated in you so that you practice your question answers quite diligently and you do that in a stipulated amount of time. Okay, Balaji, serving in army, very good. Thank you for protecting all of us from our nation's enemies. I would have asked you where you are posted, but I wouldn't want you to answer that question in a public forum, okay? So, let us start our today's discussion. The notes for this session, they will be available as usual on my Telegram channel. This is called as ATS Live. So, you can go to Telegram channel and subscribe to the channel and download the notes. Alternatively, you can also scan the QR code. This will take you to my channel, okay? So, we'll start off our today's discussion with this first article of the day. The article on my right is from yesterday's newspaper, and from article on the left, this one is from today's newspaper. And if you read both of these articles, you'll see Collegium has named 2 High Court Chief Justices and 1 judge for top court, that is Supreme Court. Similarly, in this article, Collegium has recommended transfers or repatriation of 21 High Court judges. So what becomes important from this discussion is Collegium is a very powerful body, but who are there in Collegium? What Collegium does? How has Collegium evolved? Is it mentioned in the constitution? All of this I am going to cover in our today's discussion, and naturally this deals with polity part of the syllabus. So GS paper 2 is your relevant paper. Dhakkan Babu, namaste. Okay, so we are going to discuss Collegium in great detail. First, let us understand few of the context that has been given in our today's discussion. Now, Supreme Court Collegium, this is the name of the body we are going to understand today, has decided to recommend appointment of the existing Chief Justice of Karnataka High Court, existing Chief Justice of Guwahati High Court, as well as a judge in Bombay High Court as the next judges to the top court. And why has Supreme Court Collegium nominated new judge to the Supreme Court of India? Because there are many vacancies that have arisen in the Supreme Court, especially after retirement of the former Chief Justice of India, Mr. Sanjeev Khanna, and also Justice A.S. Oka. And third vacancy is expected to arise quite soon with the retirement of Justice Bela Trivedi. So because of these vacancies, you needed to fulfill these vacancies, and for that Collegium system has appointed new judges, and these are existing judges or Chief Justices of High Court in the country. So here the Collegium system becomes important. How has Collegium system gotten the power to appoint High Court judges or Supreme Court judges? This is a big question. So in this regard, let us first understand what our constitution says about appointment of judges to High Court and Supreme Court. First, we'll be dealing with Article 124 that deals with constitution and composition of Supreme Court. So if you read this article, it says there shall be a Supreme Court in India consisting Chief Justice of India, and until Parliament by law prescribes a larger number, not more than 7 judges. Earlier there was this restriction of not more than 7 judges, but after amendment brought by Parliament, it has brought in a new act and it provides for more number of judges. The current composition is more than 30 judges in Supreme Court, and every judge of Supreme Court in India shall be appointed by the President of India by warrant under his hand and seal, and after, here is the word, consultation with such judges of Supreme Court and High Courts in the state as President may deem necessary for the purpose, and he or she will hold the office under 65 years of age. So when does the justices of Supreme Court retire? They retire when they attain 65 years of age. Is there any fixed amount of years that they are required to serve in the Supreme Court? No, right? So the only criteria for their retirement is when they achieve the age of 65 years of age. And what does the constitution says about appointment of judges to Supreme Court? It says it is appointed by President of India after consultation with such judges of Supreme Court and High Court. So the word here is consultation. What is the meaning of consultation? I will get into detail in the next slide. But first, let us read Article 217. This tells you about the this tells you about appointment of judges to the High Courts in India. And here also it says that every judge of High Court shall be appointed by the President under his hand and seal after consultation with Chief Justice of India, Governor of the state, and in case of appointment to judge other than Chief Justice, the Chief Justice of that High Court. So it also says the word consultation. So both of this says that the judges are appointed by President after consulting members or justices of the judiciary. Understood? So let us understand what this word consultation means. It just means asking the judges, or it means that asking what the judges say and we are bound by what are the judges say. So let us understand the word consultation here. Okay, now earlier before this controversy arise, you understand the constitution got enacted from 1950 onwards. So initially the president of India, they developed a convention that they will appoint Chief Justice of India and other judges of High Court after asking the opinions of the Chief Justice of India. And this consulting means that they are not bound by the opinion of Chief Justice of India. They will just seek their opinion, but they are not bound by the opinion. And because of this convention, a healthy practice developed that government almost entirely or every time they used to appoint whosoever was the senior most judge in the Supreme Court, they will be the next Chief Justice of India. So this practice went quite smoothly until the year 1973. And this was the year when Madam Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister of India. You know what she did? She overlooked this convention. She did not appoint the senior most judges of High Court as the next Chief Justice of India. Rather, she superseded 3 senior judges of Supreme Court and appointed the 4th most senior judge in the then Supreme Court, Justice A.N. Ray, as the next Chief Justice of India. And this was in the year 1973. Similarly, in 1977 also, same thing happened. Justice Khanna was the most senior most judge in the Supreme Court, but Justice Khanna was not appointed as the Chief Justice of India. Rather, his second in command, Justice Beg, he was appointed as Chief Justice of India. So, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, under her tenureship of Prime Minister, the government did not appoint the senior most judges of Supreme Court as the next Chief Justice. Rather, they appointed somewhat a junior judge, and this created a lot of friction between government and the judiciary. That government and judiciary, they had come to an understanding that you will almost every time appoint the senior most judge of the Supreme Court as the next Chief Justice, but now government broke this understanding, or government broke this convention. So this created a lot of controversy, and naturally whenever these controversies erupt, this matter reaches the apex court of our country, and in many judgments given by Supreme Court of India, they have changed how the judicial appointments take place. The most notable judgment, or the slew of most notable judgments we are going to discuss. The first judgment in this case is known as SP Gupta case, more popularly called as First Judge's case, and this matter was heard in the Supreme Court of India in the year 1981. Now, when hearing about this dispute, Supreme Court said that the word consultation, which is given in the Constitution itself, that is in Article 124 and Article 217, it does not require government to make or follow the advice given by Chief Justice of India. So here what the Supreme Court said, that the word consultation, it did not mean concurrence of judiciary. What is concurrence of judiciary? That if whatever judiciary says, it is not binding on the government. Therefore, it said that word consultation does not mean concurrence with judiciary. So, in First Judge's case, this matter was left at the discretion of the government. It should ask the opinion of judiciary, but they are not bound by the opinion of judiciary. But this matter again erupted and reached Supreme Court in the year 1993. And in 1993, what happened? This was a judgment given by Supreme Court known as Advocates on Record Association versus Union of India case, now popularly known as Second Judge's case. And in this judgment, the Supreme Court of India said that the interpretation of the word concurrence, that is interpretation of the word consultation, that is given in Article 124 and Article 217 of the Constitution, it means you have to, or you are bound by the advice given by Chief Justice of India. And Chief Justice of India will not just give advice to the government, rather he will take also the opinion of 2 senior most judges of the Supreme Court. So in this regard, the government of India or the Supreme Court of India said that the word consultation in the Constitution of India, it means concurrence. That is, when you have to take opinion of the judges or the Chief Justice of India, here you are bound whatever opinion the judiciary gives to the government. Therefore, here the word consultation meant concurrence, and therefore what we saw was the emergence of collegium system in the second judge's cases. And in collegium system, in the second judge case, the Supreme Court highlighted that the opinion of Chief Justice of India will be taken alongside two senior most judges of Supreme Court. So what you understand was the size of collegium after second judge's case? It was 1 plus 2. That means 1 Chief Justice of India plus 2 senior most judges of Supreme Court. Now this matter again reached to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court gave another judgment called as third judge's case in 1998. And in this judgment, although Supreme Court maintained this particular phenomena, that is the word consultation in the higher judiciary, it will mean concurrence, but it enlarged this size of collegium. It said for appointments of judges to Supreme Court, here the opinion of Chief Justice will be formed after taking also the opinion of 4 senior most judges of Supreme Court. And when you have to appoint any judge to the High Court, here the Chief Justice of India will seek opinion of 2 senior most judges of Supreme Court and also other senior judges of Supreme Court who have served in that particular High Court before. Understood? So as per third judge's case, the size of collegium increased from 1 plus 2 to 1 plus 4 for appointments of judges to Supreme Court, and 1 plus 2 plus other judges if they have served in the same High Court for appointment to any High Court. So that is how this is the collegium system that exists today, which is a sum total of these 3 cases, and ultimately this collegium size was fixed after the judgment given by third judge's case. Understood? Yes. How did executive encroached in the judicial matter? Well, there was this understanding before, right? There was no fixed system of appointment, and whatever constitution says you have to consult, but constitution did not say does this consultation means a legally binding directive from the judiciary, right? So because of this legal lack of understanding, government and judiciary came to an understanding that you appoint the senior most judge as the next Chief Justice of India. But when this convention was broken off, this created a lot of controversy. Understood? Now government earlier also in 2015, it wanted to change this collegium system of government, and for that in 2015 government brought 99th Constitutional Amendment Act, and this 99th Constitutional Amendment Act says that instead of collegium appointing the judges of Supreme Court and High Court, they will be appointed rather by a constitutional body called as National Judicial Appointment Council. And you know who will be there in National Judicial Appointment Council? 1 Chief Justice will be there, 2 senior judges of Supreme Court will be there, Law Minister of Union Government will be there, and 2 eminent personalities who are not the part of judiciary, they will also be the member of the NJAC, and these 2 eminent personalities will be appointed by 3 people committee that will include CJI, that will include PM, and that will include leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha. So essentially this equated or this balanced the representation of judiciary when it came to appointment of judges to the High Court and Supreme Court, that 3 members of judiciary will be there, 1 representative of the government will be there, and 2 outsiders who are eminent persons will also be there. And according to Supreme Court of India, when this NJAC, its constitutionality, the question on its constitutionality reached the Supreme Court of India, Supreme Court said that this NJAC is an unconstitutional and a void measurement, and that is why Supreme Court of India struck down the 99th Amendment Act. Supreme Court of India felt that when Law Minister and 2 eminent personalities were deciding on who to appoint and not to appoint, this violated the basic structure of the constitution, that was independence of judiciary. As judiciary has to settle matters between executive or matters between legislature and executive, therefore judiciary should be independent of these bodies, and therefore according to judiciary, no external member should decide who to appoint and how to appoint as the members of High Court and Supreme Court. Therefore, this NJAC, which was established as per 99th Amendment Act, this was declared as unconstitutional and void by the Supreme Court of India. Therefore, the current system for appointment, that is the collegium system, it prevails. So this is how collegium system functions. Any doubt? Now is the right time to answer, otherwise I'll move forward. Now, if you've understood what is a collegium system, I'll want you all to solve this question. Well, the collegium system is explicitly mentioned in the Constitution of India. It is not mentioned in the Constitution of India. Rather, this is what? This is a judicial innovation. How did judiciary innovated this thing? Because interpretation of the Constitution is the responsibility of judiciary. So when the word consultation, what is the interpretation of the word consultation? This matter reached judiciary. Judiciary said that consultation means concurrence of CJI, and here the opinion of CJI alone wouldn't suffice. Rather, you have to take opinion of CJI plus 4 more senior most judges in case of appointment to judges of Supreme Court, and when you have to consider appointment of judges to High Court, here the opinion of CJI plus 2 senior most judges plus other judges, if they have served in that particular High Court, that will also be solved. And that is how the collegium system came to existence. So first statement is incorrect. Second statement, this consists Chief Justice of India and a group of senior judges of Supreme Court, correct. Collegium system is responsible for appointment, transfer of judges of Supreme Court, High Court and District Courts in India. This is incorrect because they are responsible for appointment of judges to Supreme Court. They are responsible for appointment and transfer of judges of High Court, but they are not responsible for appointment and transfer of judges to District Court, right? So third statement is incorrect, first is incorrect, and this question asks you to identify which of these statements are not correct, right? So first and third are not correct. Option C is your right answer. Yes, Sarang. Yes, Shushmita. Correct. Others, Reshma, you are also correct. Nivedita, Sarang earlier had given an wrong option. Option B, Navjyoti, Mini Bhagat, Arjay Yadav. Please inculcate a habit of reading questions again and again. What the question is asking you, whether it is asking you to identify correct statement or incorrect statement. So identifying correct or incorrect statement on first 3 statement is not the only job. You also have to answer this question here, right? So that is why you need to read the questions again. Now, having said that, moving to another article. This one is from Explain section, which appeared in page 17 today, and it talks about a weather phenomena known as Madden-Julian oscillation. So what is Madden-Julian oscillation? Let us try to find out, but before that, let us understand the context also, right? Now, while the southwest monsoon, it arrived in Kerala on May the 24th, which was 8 days earlier than the normal onset date. Normal onset date in India for monsoon is June the 1st, and it reached Mumbai 2 weeks before in May 26. Now, this was also the earliest ever time that has happened when monsoon has arrived so early in Mumbai, right? Now, several large atmospheric, oceanic and local factors have developed and favored this early onset of monsoon, but one of the key drivers were Madden-Julian oscillation. So, in our today's discussion, we will understand what is this weather phenomena, Madden-Julian oscillation, in great detail. Now, Madden-Julian oscillation is a moving weather system which constitutes of winds, clouds and pressure that brings rains in circles around the equator. How it brings rain, I will let you know. Now, this system travels particularly eastward, so the movement of this system is in this direction, right? That is from west to east, and this moves at a speed of 4 to 8 meters per second, and the time it takes to move round the globe is on an average it takes 30 to 60 days, but sometimes it can also take as much as 90 days. So the average here is 30 to 60 days, particularly what you need to remember, okay? Now, as it moves eastward, a strong MJO activity often splits the planet into 2 parts. One part is where MJO is in active phase, and active phase MJO brings heavy rainfall in the region wherever that active phase MJO develops, and automatically the other would be called as passive phase, which suppresses the rainfall, right? So this is how basically a Madden-Julian weather system is developed. So you understand here the winds as well as the moisture is rising upwards, and this will create low pressure in the region, and here the winds and moisture, they are moving downwards. So therefore a high pressure system will be created here, and when a high pressure system develops in any region, it leads to less rainfall. So this is not an active phase, rather where low pressure develops, that is uprising of air and moisture, this is where it brings higher rainfall. So it is the green part of this MJO, this is what is the active phase of MJO, and this entire oscillation system, it moves eastward, right? So this will move further. Suppose if this is an area where high pressure is developed, and when this Madden oscillation system is moving eastwards, ultimately after some time low pressure system will also reach here, and this will lead to ultimately higher rainfall in this region, right? So this is how basically an MJO system works. Now let us get back to the discussion. Now in the active phase of MJO, it results in higher than average rainfall for that time of the year, while it is in the suppressed phase, this area receives less rainfall than average. An active phase is generally followed by a week of suppressed phase in which there is little MJO activity. So basically why it is called as an oscillation? Because this weather phenomena is continuously moving eastward. So when it is moving eastward right now, if an area is called as active phase, ultimately that area will become a passive phase later on, right? So this is how a moving system affects the weather in your own area. Now let us understand which are the areas that are affected by this weather system, Madden-Julian oscillation. Now the effect of Madden-Julian oscillation is primarily witnessed in the tropical region, that is the part of the globe between 30 degrees north in the Tropic of Cancer and 30 degrees south in the Tropic of Capricorn, right? So between Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn, you will witness majorly the activities of MJO ongoing, but in some times it can also affect the temperate regions or mid-latitude region in some cases, but mostly in between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. And India also falls in this particular areas, therefore rainfall in India is also affected by MJO. Now I told you MJO cycle lasts for only about 30 to 60 days. Therefore, there can be multiple MJO events in one rainy season. So it might suppress, it might activate more rainfall depending upon how many MJO event that is happening in your region. Understand? Now, how did MJO contribute to early monsoon outset this year? Now in the tropics, MJO, when it is in active phase, it automatically brings frequent cyclonic activity. Cyclonic activity happens whenever there is a low pressure system developed in that region, and this low pressure system can initiate the onset of monsoon. For example, there are two notable instances. In June 2015, MJO resulted in about 20 days of very good rainfall in most parts of the country. Similarly, now also this year, May 2022, the MJO originated over the Indian Ocean region, and it was in its active phase, and therefore it contributed to more rainfall and early onset of monsoon in India, right? So this is how MJO has affected monsoon in India. Any doubts regarding MJO? Now if you don't have any doubt, I'll want each and every one of you to solve this particular question. No, collegium system does not appoint district court judges. They are appointed by a separate exam conducted by respective state governments. Well, MJO is an eastward moving disturbance that traverses the tropics and return to its original position roughly in 120 to 150 days. This is incorrect. What did I tell you? The average is 30 to 60 days. Sometimes it can stretch up to 90, but majorly it is 30 to 60 days. Second statement, MJO has no significant impact on Indian monsoon system. Again incorrect, right? And the MJO consists of both enhanced and suppressed rainfall phases that affect different regions as it moves across the globe. This is correct. Now, I have incorrectly drafted the option, so sorry for that. Two statements are incorrect, so only 3 is the right answer, right? जल्दी में गलत हो गया. MJO has a very significant impact on Indian monsoon system, as you understood. Yes. Sorry for the incorrect options. So only 3 was the right answer to that question. Okay. Now next article, this one also appeared in the explain section, and it talks about why are COVID cases rising and should you worry about this. We will tell you each and everything in our today's discussion. Now first let us understand the context of our today's article. It says that the Health Ministry of Union Government this week has said that fresh cases of COVID-19 has been seen mainly in the states of Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, and this is majorly because of a new subvariant that has emerged caused NB181, and this has been detected at least in one sample that has been taken from these states, right? Now, several countries are reporting COVID-19 surges, and World Health Organization's data, it has shown a noticeable increase, particularly in the Southeast Asia region. Prominently in the country of Singapore, it reported more than 11,000 cases during April 20th to 26th, and later on it reported 14,200 cases in the last week of April and the first week of May. So this shows us that globally, not globally, if not globally, at least in very near vicinity to India, including India, there is a rise in number of cases of COVID. So many of you might think when we have gotten vaccinated, so why has COVID-19 is on a rise? I'll tell you not to worry. Now, before the reasons why COVID-19 cases has increased, let us understand what is the situation there in India. Now, in India, as per the website of Ministry of Health, it states that yesterday there were 1,010 active cases of COVID-19, and the largest number of cases, almost 43% of them, they emerged in Kerala, followed by states like Maharashtra. Similarly, Delhi, Gujarat and Tamil Nadu also had significant portions of cases. Now, since May the 19th, deaths have been reported in states of Maharashtra, Kerala and Karnataka, but government has said that more details are needed to be ascertained before the officials can formally say whether those deaths can be related to COVID-19 or right. So this is the current situation in India. Now, the outbreak in India, it seems to be on prima facie level, it seems to be limited in its geographical terms, because if you look at the number of active cases, they are in double digits only in 9 states, and particularly in 3 states like Kerala, Maharashtra and Delhi. Only these 3 areas have seen rise in more than 100 active cases. Similarly, if you look at large hospital chains like Apollo, like Medanta, etc., they have not reported any significant increase in COVID-19 related admissions in their hospital. So that is why, although people may have gotten COVID, but it has not become so severe that it might lead to hospitalization. So these data can be ascertained. However, still a clearer picture is expected to emerge only in the next 15 days or so, because when testing of symptomatic people will increase, it will tell us whether those symptoms actually are the symptoms of COVID-19 or other seasonal flu, right? So that is why this is an ongoing development. But now the big question is that you must be wondering, when you are vaccinated, how is COVID-19 on a rise? So let us understand the factors that are contributing to COVID-19 rise. Now, the virus which is responsible for COVID, SARS-CoV-2, it is not disappeared, or it has not disappeared since 2020. Rather, what has happened that as people have gotten so much amount of immunity in them due to vaccination, due to COVID-19 virus also, it is no longer behaving like an unpredictable emergency like the way it behaved during the cycle of 2020 to 2022. Rather, COVID-19 right now has become a recurring cycle of illnesses similar to common cold, similar to flus, and several factors, they can be seen as contributing to rise in cases. So let us understand these factors one by one, right? Now, the first factor is the disappearing immunity in human beings. Now, people who have gotten COVID or who have taken the vaccines, they have developed what is known as an active immunity. And how active immunity develops in your body? So, suppose whenever virus enters your body, body generates an immune response known as antibodies. But the problem is with antibodies which counters these viruses is that those are not permanent in nature. Rather, antibodies are at the highest amount of number whenever you are gotten the COVID or you have taken the vaccine, but slowly by slowly those antibodies reduce in your body. And this protection of vaccination or from past infection, it because of reduction in antibodies decreases with time, and therefore whenever number of antibodies reduces in your body, it leaves individuals more vulnerable to reinfection. And that is why you have seen during these 3 years when COVID-19 pandemic was at peak, many people have gotten COVID many times, right? So this is because of waning immunity, and this is first reason, but this is not the only reason. Another reason is that many new variants of COVID have emerged, because you understand viruses, they have a tendency to mutate, and with mutation there is a possibility that virus may become more potent, it may spread more easily, it may even invade immunity in certain circumstances, and when this happens it triggers fresh increase in surges of COVID pandemic. So you understand, variants like alpha, variants like delta, variants like omicron, these were more potent mutants or mutant varieties of COVID-19 pandemic, which periodically led to surges in the amount of cases, and in sometimes due to Delta variant, it also led to deaths in many families, right? Similarly, also there are existence of seasonal patterns. Respiratory viruses, one of which is COVID-19 pandemic, like flu, they have a tendency to become more efficient during colder and humid season. And what is the season right now? It is the onset of monsoon season. Even in Delhi, areas like Delhi where otherwise you'll feel the heat is too dry, right now there is a plenty amount of humidity, and when humidity and colder temperatures exist in the region, this actually makes respiratory viruses more prominent, and that is why several cities in India are experiencing increased amount of viral flu infections, and it also reflects a broader seasonal trends in respiratory illness. So when you talk to a doctor, they will automatically tell you that flu, common cold, etc., they are more prominent and they are more available during colder and humid season. And COVID-19 is also a respiratory virus, so that is why it is spreading because of rise in humidity, right? So this is the third reason. Now there are two more reasons. First, how do you ascertain the amount of COVID? That is through testing, right? So whenever COVID increased during 2020 to 22, government, the most important part that government highlighted was increase in testing, so that they know whether this is just a common cold or this is a pandemic. But since the risk of COVID reduced and the risk of mortality due to COVID reduced, government reduced the amount of testing. And this surveillance, it reduced in many countries including India, means rising case numbers may remain undetected for longer, and now COVID-19 officially is not considered as pandemic, rather it is considered as endemic. Therefore, testing, genome sequencing efforts to understand different mutations in the pandemic and COVID-19 have been scaled back, which delayed the identification of outbreaks. How do we identify outbreaks? Whether or not virus mutates. But when you're not conducting the testing, automatically you won't be able to understand different mutations of virus, right? Similarly, some people are considered as a high risk group when it comes to COVID-19 pandemic, and these people are the ones who have some comorbidities. These people may have weakened immune system. Similarly, they may have health problems like BP, like diabetes, etc. And this makes those people more immune to catch COVID, right? Similarly, with relaxed public health measures, these people, they also face a greater risk of severe outcomes during periodic waves. So it is these people who are more at risk for pandemic because of their weakened immune system. So all in all, a combination of these 5 factors are the ones that have contributed to increase in COVID levels in India, right? Now the big question is, how are variants categorized? So this only you will understand after categorization of variants, then only you will understand whether this rise in cases is actually problematic or risky or not, right? Now WHO, it categorizes the variants of viruses based on their potency. So more dangerous is the virus, the more concern will the WHO express. So first variant is called as variant of concern or VOC, and these are those mutants of viruses that spread more easily, they cause severe illness, present sometimes different symptoms, and also evade the immune system, and sometimes they even reduce the effectiveness of vaccines and treatments. So in these 3 categories, the most dangerous category is called as variant of concern. So as we go down, the danger of that mutation reduces. So the second category here is variant of interest, which includes certain mutations that are suspected by WHO, not conclusively, they are suspected to cause significant behavior changes as per the original strain, and these changes may impact the spread of virus where it interacts with the immune system. So if there is an uncertainty or when there is no sufficient evidence of high potency of that virus, that is called as variant of interest. And the word interest means that WHO keeps a close eye on these viruses, how they evolve over a period of time. And the third category, which is the least dangerous one in these 3 categories, is called as variants under monitoring. They are the ones where experts are observing to see whether they might pose a greater risk in future or not. So they are witnessing some newer variants, and they are seeing whether those variants are actually dangerous or not, and they are categorized as variants under monitoring. Now let's see how many of the variants that are available currently are categorized in these three respective categories. Now WHO is currently monitoring 8 variants, and this includes one variant of interest, that is JN1 variant, and the one variant that I told you in the initial slide, it is a subvariant of JN1 itself. And there are 7 variants that are categorized under variants under monitoring, and no variant currently is categorized or classified as a variant of concern. So that is why I have told you this is not a big cause of worry. Now in India, the virus in most sample sequence in the past couple of months have been identified either as BA2 or JN1. As I told you, this is a variant of interest, and health officials, they have said that there is no indication that they are more transmissible nor they are causing more severe diseases as compared to earlier variants. So that is why I told you this is not a cause of worry right now, right? Now let us understand what should be the precautions that anyone should take. First of all, the most important precaution during COVID-19 pandemic has been, and most importantly, it has been said that whenever you visit a crowded place or you have symptoms like runny nose, throat, headache, fever, etc., it is necessary for you to wear a mask. Similarly, if you look at guidelines that were given by AIMS, ICMR, etc., it said that people who have mild symptoms of COVID, they should isolate themselves at home so that it does not spread to other people. So whenever you are traveling in public, right? Also, people with mild cases can usually be managed with rest, fluids and medicines for symptom relief, and at home you should maintain physical distances, wear a mask and practice good hygiene so that your loved ones in your homes do not get affected in case you have COVID-19 pandemic, right? Similarly, also, it is necessary for the patients to stay hydrated, monitor their temperature and oxygen levels, and be in touch with your doctor. And do not, for God's sake, do not use antibiotics unless there is a clear sign of bacterial infection. What happens in India? People go and buy antibiotics from medical shop like it is a Vicks Goli, right? And it shouldn't happen. Antibiotics are a medicine, and you shouldn't have a habit to pop up antibiotics whenever you feel bad, right? Similarly, if you have trouble breathing or your oxygen level drops to 93% or lower, you are required to seek medical attention. And if you have high fever or severe cough also, if it is longer than 5 days, then you are advised to seek medical attention. And especially the people who are older than 60 years old, who have some kind of a comorbidity like heart disease, like diabetes, like weakened immune system, and some disease like tuberculosis, lung and liver diseases, they should be extra cautious, right? So that is why these are the precautions that we need to maintain, and rest assured we all be okay. Okay, any doubt? Good evening, Baga, quite early today. Now let's see if you are able to solve this question. Oh, you work. Well, SARS-CoV has become an endemic and now follows a seasonal pattern similar to other respiratory influences like influenza. Vaccines against COVID-19 work by completely preventing infection and transmission of the virus. This is incorrect. Vaccines actually develop antibodies, so it does not typically entirely prevent infections. Still, there are cases when you have taken the vaccine, you can still get infected by COVID-19 pandemic, but vaccine makes your immune system more strong, and therefore, even if you catch COVID, the probability of that COVID harming you becomes quite less, right? So, vaccines do not completely prevent infection, and waning immunity, emergence of new variants and reduced testing are among the key factors contributing to recent surges. This is a correct, right? So, only second is correct, first and third are right, option C is your right answer. All of you have gotten this right. Yes, all of you have gotten this right. No mini. Second statement is incorrect. Now, any diseases which is emerging or which is in news, and the notable diseases that even are not in news, we cover them quite in detail in our science and tech lectures, which happens under GS Foundation courses, right? And currently the admissions for May morning batch is ongoing. If you want to take admissions to these batch, you can only take admissions up till 31st of May, sorry. After that it will close. What you need to do in case if you want to take admissions to these courses, go to our StudyIQ website. You'll be needing to create an account by simply logging in with your mobile number and then click on explore courses, and there is an upper tile which says what kind of a language you want to take education in, right? Suppose if you're comfortable in English, not so much with Hindi or bilingual, click on UPSC IAS English, and the first tile on the extreme left is the one that is a May morning batch. Right now you can see the Diamond course is available at 37,999, but let me tell you a way where you can get admissions even on this amount after a discounted rate, right? How to get discounts even more than this amount? Click on buy now. When you click on buy now, on the right there is an option to add promo code here, right? Click on this and write here ATS live. When you write ATS live, click on apply. See, the discount of 7,000 rupees is applicable, and the diamond course fees, it is available at 30,999. Similarly, if you look at platinum, it's 27,500 and gold is 16,999. But personally, my opinion is take diamond batch. Although it is somewhat expensive than other batches, it is about 3,500 or 4,500 more expensive. But the benefit of taking a diamond batch is what? When you go to our this slide, this says that all the benefits StudyIQ platform is available in diamond, not so much with gold and platinum, right? So therefore choose accordingly, but according to me you should choose this diamond batch, and do not forget to apply ATS live because it will save 7,000 of your hard earned money, right? Now moving back to our articles of the day. Navjyoti sir's way of promotion is very smooth, the transition, okay. Now, let us talk about NCPCR. This one is from yesterday's newspaper. NCPCR sent a notice to Haryana's DGP and Education Secretary regarding deaths of students that happened in Ashoka University, located also in Haryana. Okay. Now, the context of this discussion is 3 months earlier, 2 undergraduate students who were studying in Ashoka University, they died on campus in separate incidents, and for that National Commission of Protection of Child Rights have issued a notice to Education Secretary of Haryana and the Director General of Police seeking a detailed action taken report. So suppose if you qualify the exam, I hope you do, in case you opt for IAS, you'll ultimately become a education secretary or have a secretary level post in a state government or in the union government also. And if you join IPS, you can even become DGP of Haryana, right? So these are the posts that are manned by people who have earlier qualified UPSC, but they did not have the benefit of watching these kind of sessions because they must have qualified 20-30 years earlier, right? But now you have opportune amount of information at your disposal, but what is more important, not the information that you get from internet, but what is the level of that information, whether it suits you or not, or whether you should utilize that or not. So that is why I take these sessions on a daily basis, so that it will help you how to study current affairs. All of you will tell that please read newspaper, but how many of you or how many of the people who actually give you advice will tell how to read the newspaper, right? That is more important rather than plain reading. How you are reading it or how you are perceiving that information, that becomes important. So that is why these kind of discussions on a daily basis will help you immensely. Okay. Now moving back to our discussion, we are talking about a statutory body, National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. This is obviously a statutory body, and why? Because it was constituted as per an act passed by the Indian Parliament. Now the composition of NCPCR, that it is headed by a chairperson, it can necessarily be a woman, can be or can't be. There is no compulsion on it. But it also includes 6 members, and here there is a compulsion that you at least have to appoint 2 women members among these 6 members. So obviously the composition is 1 plus 6. and the appointment and removal of the members are at the disposal of central government. Now, the tenure on which these members serve in NCPCR, that is for 3 years, both for chairman and members, and chairman and members, they can't hold offices for more than 2 terms, and the maximum age at which they can hold the post, that is for chairman, is at 65 years of age, and for members it is 60 years of age. So this is the composition of NCPCR. Who are appointing them? Who can remove them? Central government. What are the service conditions? That they can't serve more than 2 tenures, and the chairman has to retire, or chairperson has to retire at 65. Members, they have to retire at 60 years of age. Now, coming back to the responsibility of NCPCR, they are responsible for effective implementation of these 3 acts. First is Right to Education Act 2005, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences POCSO Act 2012, and Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2015. So, for disposal and implementation of these 3 acts, and if there is a problem in these 3 acts, if there is an issue relating to these 3 acts, the grievance redressal will be done by NCPCR, and for its working, it submits an annual report to the central government, which ultimately is placed in the House of the Parliament, right? What you need to remember, that a person between the ages of 0 to 18 is considered as a child by this particular commission, right? So that is why it was surprising to me, because the children who have died in Ashoka University, they were more than 18 years of age. Before how many days should we discontinue current affairs for state civil services? Well, prepare for current affairs 15 days before the exam, right? Just leave last 15 days just to revise it, okay? 15 days is a sufficient amount of time before the exam when you should stop current affairs. Now, there were recently many initiatives by NCPCR also. First is Ghar, that is Go Home and Reunite. It is a portal basically for repatriation of children from childcare homes to their families during COVID-19 pandemic. Similarly, a Masi portal. Masi in Hindi means your mother's sister, right? Now, it is a monitoring app for seamless investigation for real-time monitoring of childcare institutions, and Bal Swaraj portal is an online tracking and monitoring of children who are in need for protection and care. So these are the initiatives that have been taken by NCPCR. Please remember these names. These can be asked in exam in some way or the other, right? Now, before conclusion, let's see if you are able to solve this question. This actually appeared in 2020 question, a similar question that asked you what are the constitutional bodies. I have changed that question to suit our today's discussion. Which of the following are statutory bodies, right? So quickly, well, this is a constitutional body. Other 3 are statutory. Okay. So option C is your right answer. Now, moving to the next article, this talks about Baltic Sea. Why are we discussing Baltic Sea? Because first of all, Trump has made a comment that Putin has got absolutely crazy and he is considering more sanctions on Russia. Now, also there was this not a battle but a dispute in Baltic Sea, that Russia has accused NATO of aggressive actions in Baltic Sea after Estonia. It tried to seize a tanker which effectively belonged to Russia. So that is why this controversy is created. And what is the theater of this controversy? It is Baltic Sea. So in that regard, let us quickly understand what is Baltic Sea, right? I have already told you the context. Let us get quickly into the Baltic Sea. Now, Baltic Sea is one of the seas in Atlantic Ocean situated in the northern part of the Europe, and as per the age, this is the youngest sea on our planet. Most of the seas, Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Arabian Ocean, they are basically 3 to 4 billion years old, but the Baltic Sea, it is just basically 10 to 15,000 years old, because they earlier were a part of glaciers that retreated after the end of Ice Age. So basically, this is a water body that was created due to melting of ice glaciers. Now, the countries which are surrounding the Baltic are also very important. There are as many as 9 countries, which include Sweden, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Finland, Estonia, Germany, Denmark, Russia. So I have created a basically tod mod ke abbreviation or a mnemonic that you can remember. It is SPAL, right? SPLL, SPOL, and GDR, FEDR and G, right? So this is basically the mnemonic I've created. Spill, Federer, G. That is how I remember. Okay. So this is a mnemonic that you need to remember about countries which are in which are located in Baltic Sea or that share the boundary with Baltic Sea. There are 9 countries. Okay. Now this is the map of Baltic Sea. You can see it is connected to North Sea via the Danish Straits. Similarly, there are important Gulf here also, Gulf of Dansk, which is in Poland, Gulf of Riga, which connects it with Latvia, Gulf of Finland, obviously that the name suggests it is connecting with Finland, and there is also Gulf of Bothnia in the northern part of the Baltic Sea. So this is the map that you need to remember about Baltic Sea. Now the Baltic Sea, it contains 3 major gulfs. I've already told you, Gulf of Bothnia, Gulf of Finland and Gulf of Riga. And the water salinity level in the Baltic Sea, obviously you can guess it, it is lower than that of other world oceans due to continuous inflow of fresh water from the surrounding land. And there are about 60 rivers that are draining into the Baltic Sea. The most important one is the river Neva, right, which drains also into the Baltic Sea. What you need to remember, the water salinity levels are comparatively lower as compared to other oceans because of continuous influx of fresh water. Now, what is also important is other geographical features. It is connected to Atlantic Ocean with Danish Straits, and also there are notable islands in the region. Gotland, which is located off the coast of Sweden, is the largest island in the Baltic Sea, and it is home to about 20 islands and a group of islands, archipelagos, right? And a problem that happens in Baltic Sea is the fresh bloom of algal harmful bloom, right? So this is one of the issues that affect the waters of Baltic Sea. Now, what is also important regarding Baltic Sea and the countries surrounding are the terms Scandinavian countries, Nordic countries, Baltic countries, right? So which countries are categorized as Scandinavian countries, which countries are categorized as Nordic countries, and which countries are categorized as Baltic countries? You also need to know that before we conclude our today's discussion. Now there's a simple mnemonic that I've created. This is a very good mnemonic, need not worry. That is LEL are the countries belonging to Baltic countries. So here are the Baltic countries: Lithuania, Estonia and Latvia. LEL. Remember it, okay? Now talking about Nordic and Scandinavian countries. Nordic countries can be abbreviated as a FINDS, right? Finland, Iceland, Norway, Denmark and Sweden. And the last 3, NDS, these are Scandinavian countries, right? These are Denmark, Norway and Sweden. So this checked part is basically the countries which are categorized as Baltic countries, Norway, Sweden and Denmark, and if you include light blue color also, Finland and Iceland, these are called as Nordic countries. Yes, Scandinavian countries always come top in the happiness index, and earlier ministers from Delhi, they used to go visit Scandinavian countries, have ice cream and said we went there on educational tour. Yes, this one is good. What is good? FINDS. FINDS are Nordic countries and Scandinavian countries are the last 3 letters of FINDS, NDS. Okay. Now let's see you are able to solve this question or not. Which of the above mentioned countries share a land boundary with Baltic Sea? Well, Belarus and Slovakia aren't, these 3 are. So option B is the right answer, only 3. Now this is the last article, but time is 4:59. So we'll take up this article tomorrow, okay? So have a good day. Download the notes on the Telegram channel, ATS Live. So this is the end of our today's session. I'll see you again tomorrow. Please have a very good day and good night, okay?